Galileo, the conflict and compromise between science and Catholicism. Galileo was unfairly treated as the Inquisition did not try to look into his reasoning that the center of the universe was the sun and not the earth as the Catholic Church had believed. Galileo Galilei was an Italian astronomer, philosopher, and mathematician born on February 15, 1564 in Florence, Italy. His battle with the Church started in 1613 when Galileo wrote a letter to one of his students explaining that the Copernican system did not go against the Bible's passages. The Copernican system supported the theory of heliocentrism that stated that the sun did not move and was the center of the universe, and along with the other planets, Earth rotated around it. Galileo started supporting this after he had built a telescope in 1604. Using this telescope, he found evidence to support the theory. This evidence includes Galileo discovering Jupiter's moons in 1610. In his notes he writes, "Here we have a fine and elegant argument for quieting the doubts of those who, while accepting with tranquil mind the revolutions of the planets about the sun in the Copernican system, are mightily disturbed to have the moon alone revolve around the earth and accompany it in an annual rotation about the sun. Some have believed that this structure of the universe should be rejected as impossible, but now we have not just one planet rotating about another while both run through a great orbit around the sun. Our own eyes show us 4 stars which wander around Jupiter as does the moon around the earth, while all together trace out a grand revolution about the sun in the space of 12 years. This letter had gotten out to the Inquisition. The Inquisition was a group involved with the Catholic Church whose job was to convict heresy. This was not good as the Catholic Church strongly disagreed with the theory of heliocentrism. They had believed in the theory of geocentrism, which stated that the earth does not move and was the center of the universe, and the sun and the other planets revolved around it. While they had no scientific evidence on why they supported it, their reasoning was that it was strictly scripture, meaning that they only supported it because that's what scripture said. As you would think, when the Inquisition heard about this, they were furious with the information Galileo was spreading as it went against the Church's beliefs. The Copernican theory was then declared heretical, meaning that it was declared that it went against the primary belief of geocentrism. In 1616, Galileo was summoned to Rome, where he was not yet given a punishment, but warned not to teach or defend the topic of heliocentrism. Galileo had obeyed this warning until 1632. Galileo's friend Cardinal Maffeo Barberini was elected pope, and he had encouraged him to speak out about his belief of heliocentrism. So Galileo published his book Dialogue Concerning the Two Chief World Systems. This, of course, discussed his opposition of the geocentric system, stating, "After injunction had been judicially intimated to me by this holy office to the effect that I must altogether abandon the false opinion that the sun is the center of the world and immovable, and that the earth is not the center of the world and moves, and that I must not hold, defend, or teach in any way whatsoever, verbally or in writing, the said false doctrine, and after it had been notified to me that the said doctrine was contrary to Holy Scripture, I wrote and printed a book in which I discussed the new doctrine already condemned and adduce arguments of great cogency in its favor, without presenting any solution of these, and for this reason I have been pronounced to the Holy Office to be vehemently suspected of heresy, that is to say, of having held and believed that the sun is the center of the world and immovable, and that the earth is not in the center and moves." Angering the Inquisition, they decided to take Galileo to court on his dismissal of their warning. During the trial, this was stated: "We pronounce, judge, and declare that you, the said Galileo, have rendered yourself vehemently suspected by this holy office of heresy, that is, of having believed and held doctrine which is false and contrary to holy and divine scriptures, that the sun is the center of the world and that it does not move from east to west, and that the earth does move and is not the center of the world. Also, that an opinion can be held and supported as probable after it has been declared and finally decreed contrary to the Holy Scripture, and consequently that you have incurred all the censures and penalties enjoined and promulgated in the sacred canons of other general and particular constituents against delinquents of this description, from which it is our pleasure that you be absolved, provided with that a sincere heart and unfeigned faith in our presence you abjure, curse, and detest the sad and heresies and every other error and heresy contrary to the Catholic and Apostolic Church of Rome. After the cardinals signed the sentencing, Galileo knelt and said, desiring to remove from the minds of your eminences and all of faithful Christians the strong suspicion reasonably conceived against me, with sincere heart and unfeigned faith, I abjure, curse, and detest the aforesaid errors and heresies, and generally every other error and sect whatsoever contrary to the said Holy Church, and I swear that in the future I will never again say or assert, verbally or in writing, anything that might furnish occasion for a similar suspicion regarding me. I, the said Galileo Galilei, have abjured, sworn, promised, and bound myself as above, and in witness of the truth thereof, I have with my own hand subscribed the present document of my abjuration, and recited it word for word at Rome in the convent of Minerva, this 22nd day of June, 1633. I, Galileo, have abjured as above with my own hand. Ultimately, after continuous arguing, Galileo finally agreed that he was wrong only because he was worried that if he continued, he would be burned on a stake like Giordano Bruno was in 1600, who was put on trial for the same reason. This relates to this year's topic, as Galileo's beliefs opposed to the Catholic Church, which caused them to clash for years, ending in the compromise, agreeing that he was wrong and accepting his sentence of house arrest. Galileo's legacy still lives on, as he is considered the father of modern science, as he didn't invent but brought attention to the Copernican theory, which was later deemed correct. To this day, he is still recognized for his fight to prove that the geocentric system was wrong and the heliocentric system was in fact right.